welcome to the High Ground Podcast. I know we don't have many people in the chat because we just went live here. But once we do, I'll be able to bring that up and say hello to everyone. But yeah, super excited. For anyone who's going to be listening to this on the audio version, I just went and looked at the numbers of, because I really just kind of post the content for just the audio only portion. And I got to see so much love and support for this on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I want to say thank you. I'm going to start doing a lot more stuff to really um, take care of those people. So I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. We will go ahead and get started. We're going to have an awesome podcast today. We're going to be diving into some awesome factions and just having a good time and hanging out. Now I am using a new piece of software, and it looks like the intro didn't quite get added. So we'll skip the intro part, and I will bring everyone up, and we'll get ready to go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the High Ground Podcast. How's it going?
Hello there.
Hello, good to be here.
Pretty good.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for coming on. I will also want to say hello to some of our people here in the chat. We have Connor here. How's it going? And we got St. Pat. We got the Padawans podcast. Follow Padawans podcast. Luke over there. Awesome dude. They make great stuff, and they go every Thursday now, I believe. Oh, looks like we got some love here. Maya Smith. Wait, Obi-Wan Kenobi is on this? I love his TikTok so much. So we'll give him some love here. It looks like he's a little busy at the moment. But anyhow, let's get started. We're going to be talking about the different factions and stuff in Star Wars, and just kind of hanging out with you, with each other and everyone here in the chat. But I want to go around and make sure we get everyone introduced properly. So I'll start by asking, who are you, where we can find you, and your awesome content. Who is the character that you most want to be like in Star Wars, and who are you actually like in Star Wars? For this one, I will go to Skivas first.
Sweet. So I am a lifelong Star Wars fan. I was very much born into it. I was born in 1996, so I was born right around the time, I was about 3 years old when the prequel trilogy came out. So Star Wars, like the early movies, like the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, were all kind of one and the same to me when I was a kid. And then as an adult, of course, I have an appreciation for the sequels as well. But what was the next question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the question is, where can we find you all of your content? And then
yes, of course. So I feel like I kind of started backwards to some other Star Wars content creators, but I am primarily on TikTok. That's at General Skivas. And then I also have an Instagram. Yeah. And the username kind of came about. It was sort of like a funny joke between me and my family. I don't think people really use the slang term skeeve anymore, but like we would say, oh, I skeeve out General Grievous, like his chest is all open, and I'm like, General Skivas. So that it kind of stuck.
I love it. All right, and final questions were, who are you? Who do you wish you were like in Star Wars, and who are you actually like?
So first answer might be a little basic, but I wish I was like Ahsoka. I just feel like she's the perfect middle ground. I mean, perhaps not middle ground because Bendu's probably as middle ground as we're gonna get. But she's just amazing. She's driven. I think that she epitomizes what the Jedi Order wanted in their Jedi before everything happened with the Fall of the Republic and everything like that. But yeah, I would really love to be more like Ahsoka, and I strive to be more like her as a character every day. But unfortunately, I see myself as more of a 3PO. I am I'm very stuck in my ways. I'm very nervous and anxious all the time about a lot of things. So I do try to strive to be a little less 3PO, but he's still an awesome character nevertheless.
C-3PO is like Anxiety, the character.
Yes.
I love him. How about you, Amber?
It's obvious there, Amber. And I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time, but I got more into it probably around the time that The Force Awakens came out. I have been around since the OT. I'm a 79 baby. I was like graduating high school when when you were born. So, but yeah, I've been a fan of Star Wars for a long time, but it was more recently that I really started to get into it. And you can find me on TikTok, Amber Medina. I don't think I have my middle initial in there, but now I can't remember. But you can find me on TikTok. And I'm also on Twitter as Amber West. Medina is my maiden name. West is my married name, and also the name under which you can find. I'm a writer. That's the name under which I write as well. Yeah.
Cool.
And then the character that I would want to be is probably a combination of Hera and Charbet. Both of those characters, I love everything about them. They also, the romantic side of me, also thinks they probably have two of the best relationships in Star Wars that I know of. Please, anyone feel free
Also
to tell
tragic.
me if there's better ones. Yes, tragic, but at least like healthy while it lasted.
True.
So I love them for that. Who I'm more like, I tried to recruit a little assistance on this one because it's always hard to gauge what you actually are. And my husband, because he thinks he's a funny man, said Size Noodles. And then I reminded him that Size Noodles assassinated her lover. And so he kind of dropped that. So who
Also,
I
that would
actually...
imply that he's Zero the Hutt.
Exactly. So
Ouch.
he backed off on that one. But what we actually came to the conclusion of is I am a combination of Finn and Padme. And he said that's mostly because of the loyalty to friends and how I will kind of risk it all if it is on behalf of the people that I love. So, which I thought was a pretty nice thing.
That's beautiful. I like that a lot. Also, quick shout out to the Master and Apprentice podcast. Thank you so much for the love and support. You know, that's really cool. And I can't wait to check out more stuff on your channel. So if you can let us know when your podcast episodes drop, I'll be happy to share it. How about you, Liba?
Hello there. So this is, Darth Shaco. I think it's my third time on your podcast. So happy to be here. Amber and the Jedi always. I don't think I follow you guys, but I will soon. And General Skivas, I'm a big fan of yours. I was
Thank
excited
you.
to see you on
I'm a huge
podcast.
fan of
You're
yours
quite
too.
Thanks. You're very funny. Anyway, so you can find me at Liba1 Kenobi, and that's what I have on my name if you see it in YouTube. Just all one word for TikTok. And then for Instagram, it's Liba1 Kenobi, but an underscore in between Liba1 and Kenobi. Also, my third time being here, I have a drinking game being on your podcast. Every time I stroke my beard, people need to drink, but I don't think that's going to work out well for anybody.
We're not trying to kill people here.
Exactly. Well, I didn't say what they can drink. So my intro to Star Wars is that I'm actually older than Amber. I was born in 1969, and so I saw Star Wars at the perfect age. I was 8, so it really molded my life and who I am today. And it's funny because in the 70s and even the 80s, I thought that was it. You know, we're not going to get anything else, and Star Wars would be like the Wizard of Oz, where YouTube didn't exist, but Star Wars would be like the Wizard of Oz and be on like on Christmas time only, and you'll never get anything else. So I'm totally psyched in the world we live in now that we're getting tons of Star Wars content, and it's just great to be a Star Wars fan today. As far as characters, I think I'm most like Obi-Wan.
had
Yeah,
a feeling.
yeah. Always have the high ground. I think I'm very patient. I try to be wise. As far as who I'm really like, I think I'm still Obi-Wan, but I do have a hint of Anakin, and I see it mostly. Actually, I see it with my son because the way he acts reminds me of myself, and he's very Anakin, where nothing's fair. He should be better than he is. People are holding him back. In baseball, he's like, it's not fair. The coach didn't let me hit, or the umpire called me out and I wasn't. And I'm like, dude, you're just a slow runner. But yeah, so I do have a lot of Anakin in me, but I definitely try to be Obi-Wan.
Awesome. I love it. And then real quick, I want to do some shout outs. Let's see. Darthman86 says, okay, so the chat has to stay up in order to populate. Gotcha. I said, be like Maul. He determined, strong-willed, passion. Who I am, Din, for the same reasons. Seriously, they're the same. Yeah. That's that does track. Got Malik here, the Jedi Smart. I would love to be Han or Kanan, but deep down, I know I'm a Hondo or a Sinjir, which does sound pretty accurate. We have Amaya Smith. I want to be like Kenobi, chill, easygoing, brave. But honestly, I'm probably like Din, not talkative, overprotective of certain things. Awesome. I love it. All right. Last but certainly not least, we got the Jedi Always.
Hi there, guys. How's it going?
Hello.
I'm the Jedi Always. You can find me on TikTok under the same name. Since everybody was going around how they got into Star Wars, I was born into it. My dad was a huge Star Wars who enjoyed the movies when he was younger, and then took me and my brother to see them throughout the years and whatnot. And I was born in 97, so you can do the math there. But
Awesome.
Yeah, like.
And where can we find your content?
Oh, I'm primarily on TikTok, and I do have an Instagram. There's like 0 posts on there, but yeah, under the same name, Jedi Always, with the underscores in the middle.
Awesome. And then lastly, we have who do you wish you were like in Star Wars, and who are you actually like?
Personally, I wish I was more like Quinlan Voss, just cool, collective, just like the way he carried himself in the one episode he was in Clone Wars. I just admire that a bit. But I would personally say I'm probably like a mix of Maul and Kanan. Like, I care about my family, and my passions do drive me. Although I'm not too much like Maul, because I have both legs.
Yeah, and so for me, obviously you guys don't know where to find me and when to find me, but I do want to drop that episode 2 of the tabletop RPG that we're playing is going to be dropping this Saturday. So it was super fun, and I don't know, we're going to be doing some cool stuff around it, as well as checking out my boy Element 7 here in the chat. We do the Dyad and the Force podcast on Saturdays at 5 p.m. So y'all can check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, for me, I am. I would like to be more like. It's gonna sound weird, but there's specific reasons for it. There's times where I wish I was more like Anakin, because I find myself to be. He led with his heart, and he was passionate to a fault, obviously, and I am always thinking, you know what I mean, and I'm always conscious of my actions and all that stuff, and sometimes I wish I could turn that off in my brain, you know what I mean. Who I'm actually like is, I'd say, probably I see myself as like an Obi-Wan or a Plo Koon. I don't know if that's me bragging or something like that because they're awesome, but um, I don't know. I always that's how I see myself. So oh, and looks like Lebo is back, so I'll go ahead and bring him back up. But yeah, let's jump into it. So I kind of wanted this to be a free form conversation, so we can all kind of jump out. I'll bring the chat overlay back here, so anyone in chat can start shouting out their thoughts as well. But with the Mandalorian or with Book of Boba Fett coming out, it made me start thinking of these factions, right? Because we have the Mandalorians, right? We have this criminal underworld that he's going to be taking over. There's people like Crimson Dawn, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it and see how you guys felt about these groups of people and modern parallels and what characters you really enjoy from them. And I figured, Book of Boba Fett's coming out, so let's start talking bounty hunters. Who do you guys love? Who's your favorite bounty hunters?
For me,
No, go for it. I want this conversational. So jump out.
for me, mine. I'm a sucker for Cad Bane, but I'm trying to. Which one? Who was the one with the hat? I'm forgetting his name.
Embo.
Embo. Yes, I love Embo, and like I think he's terribly underrated. And ironically, that's Dave Filoni's favorite bounty hunter. He also voiced him, which is weird.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he did.
That's why he doesn't talk much.
Yeah,
that's also why he has a pet like wolf, because
exactly. Dave Filoni loves
Anubis.
wolves, and I'm so glad. But I love as far as like actual bounty hunters, we only see Boba go after Han when we really think about it in the movies. We never really see him do so far. We never see him do like a lot of bounty hunting, but Embo, like we see him do a decent amount of it, and there's a bit of honor with him. He's not like the mission like that village that hired Embo and those other bounty hunters. Like I like that.
Yeah, that Samurai 7 like episode.
Exactly. Yeah. We get so many of those in Star Wars.
Yeah. How about you, Amber?
So I've never been big on like the criminal element of like anything. I'm always rooting for the good guy. So maybe that's why IG-11 is my favorite as a bounty hunter, because it's a droid. So I feel a little bit better about the things that he does because it's his programming, and the fact that he ends up not being the bad guy in the end and sacrifices his life. He's probably my favorite. Also because he's awesome. Like when he is a bounty hunter, like the IG droids were pretty cool, all the stuff that they could do. So that is probably my favorite. And obviously I do love Din, but I don't necessarily always think of him as a bounty hunter. I think of him more as his Mandalorian side, which I know we'll get into later, but IG-11 is probably my favorite.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do love me some IG-11. That sacrifice did kind of hit pretty hard. There we go.
Not gonna lie, I cried.
Although it kind of made me. I mean, I really liked the big, like, yoked R2 unit that was rowing the boat on that episode.
That was weird.
That was awesome.
That was a lanky boy.
that was a thick boy. I don't mess with him. I know. Who jumps out at you, Skeevis?
Well, it's no secret that I am a massive fan of Boba Fett, so he's got to be my favorite. Obviously, there are some moral gray areas with him, especially in his past, but possibly with the new series, he'll turn it around, and he seems like he's out to do good this time. But other than Boba Fett, I'm a pretty big fan of Aurra Sing. I think that it was solid of her to sort of take Boba under her wing and, train him as a bounty hunter, will help him along a bit. Of course, he learned a lot from his dad, but yeah, I just thought that that was really nice that she made sure that because he was Django's son, he was still included in the group and, didn't end up, you know, out in the outer rim and like a spice mine or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, or Singh did some things for a young Chaco. We'll leave it at that. How about you, Lebo?
I mean, same. I really always liked Boba Fett. I thought it was just really awesome, especially in the original trilogy. He had 6 lines, I think, total in the whole original trilogy, but he's just really badass. I also like Din, and you know who I also like? I like Bosk. I never
Yes.
read any of the books, but I just really loved him in Empire. I mean, all he did was snarl, but I thought he just looked really cool, and I always wanted to see more of Bosk. And he did in the animated series,
Yeah,
so I always thought that was cool.
And he
Yeah,
had,
I love seeing more of him and seeing him like learning a bit more about his personality. He like talks about eating his siblings, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's a savage.
Yeah, no, yeah. He was always one of my favorites for sure, and I loved seeing Tenosians. Right, he's a Tenosian. Is that what he is?
Trandoshan.
Trandoshan. So I do like whenever I see them, I'm really super excited. Even in the Bad Batch, I love. I forget her name, but I just love seeing them. They just look like really interesting and fun characters.
Yeah, I feel like Sid and like the few Trandoshians that you see that aren't Bosk, they always look mangled. Like, remember that guy
Right?
that was like, he was like a scrapper or something, and Anakin like wanted to beat him up or whatever. That guy looked hurt.
Yeah, they for sure handle their business. Interesting enough, and from a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back, there's a short story of Bosk and a run-in he has with his sister, who he thought was dead. We'll move Lebo on out temporarily. He's busy, but yeah, he has a sister. So spoiler alert for this short story. But basically, he's trying to like track down this. There's this person that he's trying to connect on this bounty to catch a bunch of Wookiees, and there's this Wookiee liberator that he's trying to track down, and he finds this Wookiee ship. By the way, Wookiee ships are made of wood from their trees, which is just super cool. And there's like a big tree in the middle. And it turns out that the person who is the most famous liberator of Wookiees is his sister, who he tried to eat in her egg, and somehow she survived. He ate all the others and like didn't finish this one off, and she was nursed back to health by a Wookiee family. And so there's this whole really interesting story about how they're raised to hate Wookiees, and they're told that Wookiees think they're like a delicacy, and so if they don't kill them, they're going to be killed, and none of it's true. It's actually really sad.
Yeah.
I
Isn't all
recommend
Star
checking it out.
Wars sad?
True.
He's got a point.
We got Torin the Mando in here saying he wants to see Dirge in the Book of Boba Fett, which we briefly got Dirge back in the mix.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else is reading the Star Wars books, but he's popped up in there, and it did not end well. He's still around, but yeah,
he's hard to kill, is what he said before stuff happened, which we know to be true. I got Camille in here who wants to learn more about Jazz and Mari. If you read the Aftermath trilogy, which I have mixed feelings about, but Jazz and Mari is an excellent character, and I do need more. And her cousin was in the Clone Wars, and now I can't think of the cousin's name. Same species though. But yeah, I know. I've always. How do you guys feel about the faction of bounty hunters? Are they interesting? Do we need more bounty hunter stories, or is it overplayed and we need to move on to something else?
I feel like my hunger will be pretty satiated as far as like stories focusing on bounty hunters with the Book of Boba Fett, or at least that's the hope. I have faith that it's going to be an awesome show. And I feel like we get a lot of coverage in the Clone Wars on different bounty hunters as well. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff with like Embo and several episodes with like Orasang, Bosk, that whole crew. So I feel like we have a decent amount of that content. I don't feel like there's a scarcity.
Yeah.
I have
And
to.
go ahead. By the way, if anyone interrupts me, I'll stop talking. You guys keep going.
Sorry, I'd have to agree that we definitely have like a nice amount of bounty hunter content, but I feel like bounty hunters are best when they're used sparingly. Like take Dan for example. His story, the Mandalorian series is so great because it's not just Dan going after bounty after bounty after bounty. I personally feel that would get way too repetitive. So using them sparingly just works a lot better to me.
Yeah. No, I see that. Plus, as a concept, it's pretty dark to have them just like murking people for money, and so
Exactly.
you always have to like throw that heart of gold type thing in.
Right. Do you guys consider bounty hunters bad guys or good guys or just whoever's the highest bidder?
They're just men trying to make their way through the universe.
Good call.
I'd have to agree. I'd have to agree with that because when Bob when Bob is a kid and he's trying to go after Mace Windu and whatnot, you can tell he feels remorse for getting other clones killed. And when Hondo talks some sense into him, you can tell that there's a moral code here for him. Not every bounty hunter is the same. Aura Singh is a cold-blooded killer, like absolutely tried to kill Padme for I don't even remember who hired her. To be frank, that's probably a lot of people that want to kill Padme, but that's beside the point. But yeah, no. Some of them are good, some of them are definitely bad, and some of them it's just a job's a job.
Yeah, it's hard to put that label on them, especially like I know it's not a bounty hunter, but reading Dr. Afra and how apathetic she feels about the Empire because it's this thing that's ruling the galaxy. You can't escape it. So what do you do with that? You just try to live your life the best you can. But it's a profession that leads to lends itself towards amoral actions, in my opinion. But
A little bit.
speaking of which, in Book of Boba Fett, we see him going to take over some criminal elements, and which I think is going to include smugglers and all sorts of things. So, what are you guys looking forward to see there?
Fennec. Just her involvement in all of it. That's the big thing I'm looking for. Also, I do want to see like how much of all the various criminal factions we're going to see, because there are so many that we only get bits and pieces of through the various movies and series. And I feel like Book of Boba Fett, like, because isn't one of the episodes like called The Syndicate?
Yeah.
So I feel like we probably will get a lot of criminal elements, and I think it will probably be interesting to see how they all interact. But mostly Fennec.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Fennec as well. One thing I'd love to see in any of the shows, whether it's Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan. Well, Obi-Wan would be hard, but if they really want to tie the sequel trilogy into the shows, I would love to see a visit to Maz Kanata's castle, because she's been running that for 1,000 years. She's alive and well in this era. And I would also love to see, my math might be off, but the Irving boys, I think it's the Irving boys, owning the Millennium Falcon. I think somehow if the Irving boys are smugglers and they have the ship that they stole, I forget who had it before the Irving boys, but I think it would be a great way to start. Duquesne was, I think, the last one to own it before Unkar Plot. Yeah. But I would love to see some tie-ins in that way. And I think Maz is great to tie in any of the shows. But as far as other factions, I'm easy. I like the Pike Syndicate. I think they're really cool. Oh, what about a live action of those two sisters who were in the Clone Wars and a Bad Batch? It'd be cool to see them. They're around doing
Rafa
something
and
at this time.
Trace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be neat if they made a live action appearance.
Yeah, I would. I think that'd be cool.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah, and because we don't fully know, the full scope of what we know that they're friendly towards but the good guys, but
Yeah.
we don't know that they're actually working for him and what type of shenanigans they're into and who they owe money to. I would not put it past them.
Yeah, Rafa's still. I mean, she seemed like she got better in the Bad Batch, but she did have some like impulsive tendencies. So I do like worry about that, like some sort of intrusive thoughts to get money quickly and get themselves out of a situation like they did, or they attempted to do back in the day when they got all tied up with the Pikes. So
Yeah. One syndicate though, I always talk about this, so I apologize. But Black Sun, as they were led by Prince Caesar in Legends, I thought were super interesting. He's falling, so another weird lizard creature who like uses pheromones. It brings makes some questionable choices. But how do you fight against that? Someone who can use pheromones to just make you trust them. I think there's a lot of really interesting things that we could get and that I hope do get brought into canon. That's one of them. And another one is Talon Card. If any of you have read the Heir to the Empire trilogy, Talon Card is just a really interesting smuggler type who kind of has a heart of gold, but he's mostly a businessman.
yeah, I just started reading the first book of that trilogy, and yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Salamiri? Is he the one on the planet that like basically tells them the extraction process because they have like a symbiotic relationship with trees?
Yes. The
Yes.
Islamari, yeah.
Yeah, he does seem pretty cool.
He's just suave, Like I don't know, I love him. Element 7 says Kira all day. Very true. Did you?
I'd love to see more Akira.
Is anyone else? Are you guys reading the Star Wars comics at all?
No, I'm not.
I would suggest it. That's all I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
All right, I'll look into it based on your.
That's all I'm gonna say about it.
We're getting some Kira content. They basically announced like a soft content trilogy of hers called Crimson Rain is going to be the next step in it. But yeah, if you like the character of she's awesome.
Yeah, I believe the actually Crimson Rain starts next week.
Oh,
yeah. So go to your local comic shop and pick it up because let's just say we get some questions answered to what happened after she met up with Maul.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
she's
you know what I'm talking about?
A bit of a badass. Yeah, it's in the War of the Bounty Hunters comics.
Great
highly
series.
Recommend.
Like I can't say anything that I want to spoil, but like
we appreciate the no spoilers.
Yeah, I can't stand people that spoil stuff like that, but yeah.
Oh my god, I agree.
Because I sorry to side tangent. I've had Cowboy Bebop and My Hero Academia's parts of that spoiled on TikTok. Just scroll them for a second and then bow, spoiler. No warning.
Yeah, no, there needs to be a I don't know. There's an etiquette. Cowboy Bebop, if it was about the new live action, spoiler. If not, it's been out for like 30 years.
No, it was the live action. Like I've seen Bebop like thousands of times, but something about the live action got spoiled for me.
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on the live action one. I haven't looked into that yet, but
I watched the first episode. It was pretty solid, I'd admit.
Oh, okay.
I mean, for me, the only like live action thing that really hit it was the Rurouni Kenshin. If y'all haven't seen it, that
I
live
have
action
not.
one is awesome. Also
I've
want
heard good
to
things about it.
shout out to Paul. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. He's our unofficial sponsor, but he's $5 of ramen. Jedi Master DePaul is awesome. You guys need to check out Conspiracy Cantina, which is every other Tuesday.
It's a
So you
great
can look at
podcast.
it is a great podcast. I've had the pleasure of being on it myself. I think Amber has as well.
Likewise.
Oh yeah, awesome. So you just so you know, amazing guests on it as well. All right. So kind of moving out from there, one other type of like faction that I think we need a lot more of, and I've been saying this for a while, and this is Lee will kind of touch on this. We need pirates.
Pirates. I agree. I honestly,
Yes, more
Hondo's alive and
Hondos.
well.
Just Hondo. Just give him more
My
Hondo.
friends, my friends. Yeah, I think we need to see Hondo for sure. It would be great to see him. It's so weird because what is Hondo's race again? White
Weequay.
Weequay. When you think of pirates, it's now Weequays, but technically Han Solo was a pirate. I mean, Lando calls him a pirate. I think in the original series he was called a pirate, but I definitely like to see more Hondo and his gang for sure.
I mean,
go ahead.
Maz Kanata was a pirate queen. Like that's was her job.
Really?
I mean, so yeah, in the Afra book that came out, well, which audio drama, she's actually being chased down by by Maz in a ship at one point. Yeah, so pirate queen there. How about your any thoughts, Amber?
Pirates? No, because once you said pirates, I started like reimagining like Pirates of Penzance done with Star Wars characters, and that's how my brain just kind of went in another direction. No, like I said, like criminals, I'm always kind of like, it could be interesting, but until I get more of them, I'm always kind of like, well, we'll see. But I guess weren't the guys in I think they were pirates. In Mandalorian, there was like the battle where they were all like on the ships and they were coming for him. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like they were cool as like a side thing. I think I just would need more to like get really interested enough to be like, I want more. But yeah, I need to shut off the Pirates of Penzance in my head. So,
I mean, I don't know what you do. You know,
Pat gets it.
I mean, Hondo as the Major General, love it. Like one thing that I want to write, and I don't write fanfic myself, but I might have to start. I need some type of a heist film, and each faction wants the same prize, but they're going to do it how they normally do it, you know? So like there'll be bounty hunters who are after it, but they're going to do it by trying to take down people to get to it. Then you have pirates who are going to try to boost it, you know, like rob whoever gets it. And then, you know, you have your smugglers, and I don't know, I just think it would be really cool to like bounce around and see how everyone interacts differently, because all of these types of things are related, but none of them are exactly the same. Like you can have multiple roles, but I don't know. I think it could be interesting.
So basically, the movie Rat Race, but in Star Wars.
Okay, I love the movie Rat Race. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm saying I love it. So yeah, I would watch that. Especially if you have rich people who are betting on them all the way through. You know,
I totally got the vibes from War of the Bounty Hunters. Like this is totally what they were doing with what they were doing. But that's the beautiful thing about Star Wars, and like Dave Filoni has gone to say this like several times. Any story can fit in Star Wars. Any story can be Star Wars.
Yeah, and we
So,
need
Yeah,
more.
it really is so diverse. That's why like all of the different factions just allow for somebody to identify with one of these groups, and that's why it's so important. And that's why Star Wars, I always say Star Wars is for everybody. That's why it's so enjoyable for everyone, because there's something for everybody.
Oh,
Exactly.
absolutely, I agree. And you don't have to like all of Star Wars, but Star Wars is
Absolutely
for
not.
everyone.
No,
But you
and
don't have to
there,
like
like,
everything.
I think that people seem to forget that there are a lot of certain like elements that are not directed at the masses. They're like, some things might be geared more towards children, some might be geared towards people who are into romance or politics, something like that. So of course not all of it is going to appeal to everyone, but as a
Like I'm
whole.
not a huge anime fan, and I watched Visions, but it was kind of a struggle for me. But that doesn't mean I hated it, or if anyone says they liked Visions, that I'm going to bash them, saying, "Oh, how could you watch that? That was horrible."
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just, understanding that something might not be made for you. I feel like people are, being a little selfish, thinking that everything Star Wars should be all about them and all about what I like. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I like bounty hunters a lot, and I'm a huge fan of Boba Fett, and I'm getting a Boba Fett show. But yeah, I mean, not everybody's going to get that. And of course, some people are going to be unhappy with some decisions that are made. But I'm pretty sure, like Sam Witwer said in like one of his interviews, or perhaps he was in a podcast or something, but he's like, it's very easy to critique a finished product,
Sure,
and a lot of
right.
people like to do that. They like to say, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. And I'm like, ultimately, you're not the one building the entire movie and building upon the universe. You're a fan, So
Right.
that and the
No, I
fact
agree.
that most fans can't write, but
yeah.
They can't even write a comment, much less a whole story.
I had a in high school, I had a teacher who I was really close with, and I just asked her how did she grade all these papers and whatnot, and she just told me about like all the grammatical errors and just said that just a bottle of wine every now and again, or a glass of wine every now and again. And after reading some of my comments, I totally get it. I totally get it.
Your comments have been wild lately.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird, especially the weird Mace Windu hate. I don't
Mace
get it.
Windu, people thirsting over
I never
Palpatine's
understood
feet.
that.
Oh yeah, that
It was so weird. It was so weird.
you heard it here. People love Palpatine's feet, Palpa feet, as we call them.
No,
What?
Palpitoes. That's what somebody called them in
What?
my comments. Palpitoes. It was so wrong.
How is this even coming up in conversation?
I
don't
don't.
wanna-
I said. I said Palpatine has one of the greatest feats as an achievement as a Sith,
Right.
and people thought I said FEET and just rolled with it, and I've been regretting it ever since.
Hey, I mean, we don't shame here, but if that's you, then you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, how did we even get there?
No, I love it. I mean, speaking of which, we also have that faction, the Sith, and I think we need some more Sith stories. I think we are severely lacking that here in canon.
Yeah,
The
I
Acolyte
totally
is
agree.
coming out, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it should still be coming out.
Yeah, the
Hopefully.
Acolyte will probably cover a lot of that, I would imagine. That's a live action show, right?
I
Yes.
believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
Leslie
you'll probably
Headland.
get a lot there.
Yeah, I proposed my idea to you a while ago about a Darth Bane trilogy, either movies or possibly a television show. I mean, like, his character is canon because he's mentioned in the Clone Wars, but none of his backstory or anything about Darth Zana is canon. And I would love for that story to be on the big screen. He's my favorite Sith Lord. He's so
Really?
cool.
I would love, and it goes. I mean, it's along the same vein. but I feel like we have the main books, which are fantastic. Even if you haven't started reading anything from the expanded universe, that's a great place to start, in my opinion. But if we could tell roughly the same story, but have it be Xana's book, and have it extend after the end, where she has Cognis and is training her and all that stuff. I don't know, I think we could get to some really interesting. Plus, she was into like Sith sorcery, and like we can get to some weird stuff. And Star Wars is awesome when it's weird.
There's so much potential, I feel like, at the end of that trilogy. Like, I love the Bane trilogy, and I'm totally like on board with like I want live action Bane trilogy. I agree. I would like it to be more like Bane is the backstory for like the vehicle for Xana as the main in that trilogy. But it's what happens after that we just don't have at all that I'm super interested in. And this is coming from someone who is like, could care less about the Sith until I read the Bane trilogy. I was like, because again, it's the bad guys. I don't care. But Bane trilogy made me interested because it gave these bad guys like a backstory and a motivation. Like reading the Jedi vs. Sith comic book series. It's like only like 6 issues. And seeing Xana as a child and seeing how she went from just, this kid to being Bane's apprentice. Like just that little bit there, that had me invested in that character. Like that made me go, okay, I need to know more. That's actually how I ended up reading the Bane trilogy, was because I read that comic book and was like, I want to see what happens to her. Yeah. And there's just so much interesting stuff, like the orbalists on Bane. Like there's so many things that I think could be so visually cool.
Absolutely. And like series. Imagine seeing Xana use Sith sorcery. Like she could basically conjure up images of people's worst fear surrounding them. So imagine somebody like in a pit of spiders, but like it cuts scene and then it's just a person freaking out, running around like crazy, like invisible bees on them or something like that. I'm like, that's all I can imagine. It would be so cool.
But I also have this weird, I want, which he's not really Sith. It's Set Hearth. He was about to be her apprentice for like a second. And then he was like, peace out, and takes off with his little Sith doohickey and is trying to figure out immortality. I want to know what happens with him because he was very like out for himself. It was like, Jedi stuff, Sith, okay, no, I don't really want to listen to anybody, but also I'm super charming and powerful and I just want to sit in my mansion and be cool. And like, I think he probably would have a lot of cool misadventures. And if he did really figure out the immortality thing, but he's just been trying to skate under the radar all this time, it would be so cool to see him go through the Star Wars timeline. And like, we see characters that we know from all these other stories that he's basically, again, like just trying to avoid. He's still there.
Yeah. So for anyone in the chat who doesn't know, there's a character by the name of Set Hearth. Hearth? Is it Heart or Hearth?
I think it's Hearth. I think.
But yeah, basically, former Jedi used to go out on missions in order to find these Sith relics and bring them back to the temple because it's not safe to have this stuff just chilling around. And he started to use them. He started to, these items were imbued with power, and he started to get drunk with that power and use it for his own ends and have this, just go out to parties and just get drunk all night and stuff. And he was an interesting character, super selfish, but knew what he was doing, and you can never quite get, put your finger on him. Interesting character. Would love to see more. Would love to see more of him. But no, like you said, a lot of the bad guys that we have in Star Wars, we either don't get any background on them at all. Like Maul shows up, a Phantom Menace, no background, dead. I mean, he comes back, but
he got better.
He came back with a vengeance too.
He came back with the spider legs.
Yeah, those are creepy.
then we get the he was like the Scorpion King.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a deep cut.
But we have the same thing with episode 2. Dooku's there. We don't know who is he. Where'd he come from? Just shows up.
One of the mistakes of the prequels is that Dooku should have been in episode 1, and he should have been a Jedi, and we should have met him at least once talking to Qui-Gon. And because when you meet him in episode 2, you're right. Who is this guy? Same thing with Grievous. In episode 3, I'm like, oh, here's a new bad guy. If the original trilogy didn't do that, you had Vader.
But
4, 5, and
there
6.
was no plan.
Well, I know there was no plan.
I was kidding.
I know that. I mean, Luke and
I
Leia
think that would
kissed.
have been good to have what he said, have a mention of Dooku in episode 1. I recently read Dooku Jedi Lost, so you learn a little bit more, well, a lot more about Dooku's background and, how he was basically abandoned on Sereno, how his family didn't want to have anything to do with him, and you kind of find out why he's called Count Dooku. I was always confused watching the prequels, like, why, like, as a kid watching it, I'm like, why is this guy called a Count? And, like, he's an ex-Jedi, but he's also, like, a Sith apprentice thing going on, but, like, why is he a Count Dooku? I don't know. But
Yeah, I'd like to know more of his backstory. And also, the other thing about Dooku, not only was he not in episode 1, he was introduced the 3rd act of episode 2. So when he comes out, I'm like, what? Who's this now? It's just
that.
there was no.
For me, I've always had a soft spot for Count Dooku. He's probably is my favorite Sith Lord, because personally I like Maul when he's not like a Sith Lord. But but Dooku is just, I get his motivation. Like, out of all the Sith Lords, I'd say he has probably the most reasonable motive behind becoming a Sith Lord at first, because when he's talking to Obi-Wan and he says we can destroy the Sith, I think he believes that at that point, that he's actually doing this to take down the Sith, because the Republic is totally corrupt right now. You guys can't see it, or better, or even worse, you guys are stuck in it and you can't really change anything. Maybe I can change things out here, but with the way the dark side goes, it just corrupts until eventually he's totally working with slavers. And I'm like, yeah, no, where you going here with this, man?
Yeah, that's what I really liked about Dooku Jedi Lost, is that it elaborates on his downfall a bit more, because, like he said, he's being introduced in the 2nd movie and it's just so abrupt, like, oh yeah, this guy fell from the light side, he's a bad guy now. And then his reasoning, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I can see why he would do that. But also in Dooku Jedi Lost, it kind of delves into his relationship that he had with his sister that he had to keep secret from the Jedi and all of this stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. Early on in his life, the Jedi went on a field trip.
Yeah, a field trip to Sereno.
To Sereno, and he runs into his biological sister, and they reconnect and try to hold that connection throughout his time being a Jedi. It's a really fascinating read. So if you read that and then follow that up with Master and Apprentice, you get like a great picture. Because I mean, the Master and Apprentice, you get Qui-Gon and Dooku's Padawan Rael Averross, who was a Padawan beforehand, and both of them are really bummed that that Dooku's left the Order and all this stuff. But you get some tidbits on his life through that as well.
Yeah, in Master and Apprentice, there's sort of like another faction that comes into play, and that's like royalty, because I don't know, you get to see like Fannery and how her upbringing eventually led to her radical way of thinking, and I think that would be pretty interesting to have. I mean, we have, of course, Queen Amidala in the movies, but they're not really focused on, they're not the center of the story most of the time. So I think it would be interesting to sort of have a character like Fanry, something like a Game of Thrones sort of thing, where you have like a little crazy Joffrey going nuts.
That would be awesome. Oh, I would love that. Also, shout out to Daniel Stewart twice. Have y'all read Plagueis? If so, how surprised were you when you found out Plagueis was alive in episode 1? And yes, the Dooku book is solid. And yeah, appreciate it. Audiobook of Dooku Jedi Lost is the best, which is true because it is an audio drama, so it's fully acted cast. You can buy the book, but it reads like a play. So I always tell people that it's weird to read it like a book. You'll definitely want to listen to it.
Is that
I've been
technically
meaning to
canon?
get,
Is that technically canon?
Oh yeah,
Dooku
Jedi Lost is canon.
Dooku Jedi Lost is canon. Yes.
Yeah. I've been totally meaning to get into that, get into all the audio dramas for that because I really wanted to listen to Jedi Lost as well as the Quinlan Vos story. Like the name escapes me right now.
Dark Disciple.
Yeah, Dark Disciple, because
That's a great one.
in a way it's kind of a, when you really think about it, Master and Apprentice, Dooku Jedi Lost, and Dark Disciple is kind of a Dooku trilogy if you piece it together.
True. I didn't think about it like that because I read them, Dark Disciple so much earlier. But real quick to answer Daniel Stewart's question, if you read the book Plagueis, which again we know is Legends, but in that book you find out that Plagueis was around. Like Plagueis didn't die in that book until the night that Palpatine became the Supreme Chancellor. So Plagueis was around this whole time, running the back end of things. Like he was the guy with the green visor running the money, with the and it's a really good book. It's really interesting. Unfortunately, it does conflict with canon quite a few things, like on all the Dooku stuff, and on everything politics. But it is a good book. Let's see here.
The part. Sorry to cut you off, Draco, but the part about that about the Plagueis stuff is like the stuff I enjoyed is the fact that Maul was around when Maul was Palpatine's apprentice while Palpatine was Plagueis' apprentice, and I love the loophole that Palpatine was how he was able to get Maul. He was like, oh no, he's not my apprentice. He's just an assassin I need for reasons that I'm training as a Sith. Not really.
Like don't worry about it. But it's funny though because it kind of comes full circle with we do know that he was his actual apprentice in canon, but it kind of comes full circle with Ventress in the Clone Wars when Palpatine's like, yeah, that what about that assassin Ventress you got going? And Dooku's like, you're just an assassin. Like don't worry about it. He's like, come on, dude. Come on, BS. Cut her loose, or I'll kill you both. Like,
but I like how Dooku talks to the Empress is like she's a value assassin, and he's like, get rid of her. And right when he says get rid of her, he has no hesitation. Right after that, he's like, I tried my best, but you know what? Yeah, you're dead to me. I forget. Was Ventress in the room when Palpatine? No,
she was fighting with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Yeah, she was mid-fight, and she's like, all right, pull me out, and they're like, sorry, we gotta go. Anyways.
I personally wish I really wish he tried not to with a little bit more with Ventress, like, because their relationship is very interesting, and like he tried to convince Palpatine to just like, yeah, no, she's good, but he wasn't having it, and like I wish there was a bit of hesitation with Dooku when he's talking to Ventress about it, because he's lost a lot of Padawans, or maybe not a lot, but
he does go through Padawans quite a bit.
Yeah. But when I really think about it, Sidious is kind of like Zeus in a way. He like in like Greek mythology, like or more like Kronos. Either way, he knows he remembers what he did to his master, and he's not gonna let Dooku do that to him. He stops the cycle.
Yeah. And real quick, I do also have to shout out Element 7. Apparently I haven't seen it yet because I've been live and talking to you guys, but he did a Padme voiceover challenge on TikTok.
Not that I can do it.
I would still love to see you try.
I think you'd be great.
Oh, I don't back down from challenges. I totally am.
don't sell yourself short. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land on a cloud. However that goes.
That's a nice expression.
All right. So to jump into kind of the last bit, I want to talk about all of these big like I guess governmental factions to see where you guys align, who you think was wrong, who you think was right. So because and obviously like the Empire is wrong, but but if you think about when we have we have the Empire, we have the First Order, we have the Separatists, and on the other side we have the Republic, the New Republic, and um, it's essentially the rebels and the Resistance. And I'm curious how you guys feel about it because I don't think it's as black and white as a lot of people think, and I think we might be getting a bit more into this when it comes to Andor.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that big time.
I would like to see them explore both sides in Andor because they hint at a darker part of the rebellion during Rogue One.
Yeah.
With the way I forget that guy's name. The general who told Cassian to just kill Jin's father and not give him any type of
General Draven?
chance. Yeah, him.
General Draven, yeah, I think his name was.
Yeah, and whatnot, because like that's not like the heroic thing here. You have somebody who wants to give you information who's like, no, just kill him.
Well, Andor shot someone in the back in the start of that movie.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
too.
That was rough. He was like, "It's gonna be okay, buddy."
Oh, it's such a great movie. I love Rogue One so much. But yeah, he's like, I got a broken arm. I can't climb. He's like, it's okay, bud. It's okay. This is be nighttime. Night. Let's go night right now.
Look at the
Go to
stars,
sleep.
Lenny.
Exactly. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of like just rougher parts that we don't really consider, and also but we know in the prequels they're going up against the Separatists. Were the Separatists right?
It's so confusing.
I say the separate.
I mean, they were being manipulated, so it's kind of hard to view them as right since.
Yeah, it is kind of
Ultimately.
difficult. I recently read Lost Stars for the first time. So that was my first book from the point of view of like, people who weren't very high up in the Empire. And I just thought that was very interesting. And I would love to see a show or something like that from that point of view, just as that book was, because, it really brings things into perspective of how, there was really a shroud pulled over all of these people's eyes. And the majority did think that the Empire wasn't out to do bad. They thought that they were trying to help, and they really were convinced that, the Jedi turned and, tried to kill the Emperor and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I really appreciated that they did with Anakin specifically is when you watch the Clone Wars and see how Anakin treats his enemies, you see that that's exactly how he looks at the Jedi at the end. Mm-hmm. His behavior doesn't change. It's just that he now fully believes that the Jedi are the problem. But like that whole arc where he's hunting for Ahsoka and he's starting to get kind of crazy with people, that's what he's doing. That's what he does to Obi-Wan. That's what he does to Padme.
Yeah. And as far as the Separatists go, they have a point. There's like the way that the banks were able to just like strong arm the Republic was just ridiculous. Like it literally kept happening so many times and whatnot. But yeah, no, they're totally being manipulated by two Sith Lords and whatnot. But yeah, no, the Republic was a failing government, and I totally get why they did what they did. Although some of the stuff they pulled was less than savory, I would say, a bit.
Yeah, it's true. Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
I was gonna say there are heroes on both sides. It's just it's really complicated because again they were manipulated, and yeah, I don't I don't know whose side. Like, if this was all real, I don't know whose side I would take. Well, obviously the Jedi side, but it would be just really, really complicated. And because eventually the Separatists become the Rebel Alliance, so then it's like, wait, I'm rooting for them, right?
Yeah. Which was like a terrible scene that got like cut from Revenge of the Sith. Padme meeting with Separatists, which would
Sure.
make a lot of sense because, like I said, the Separatists had a point, and yeah, no,
Yeah, and like in the Clone Wars, you get introduced to people like Mina Bonteri and stuff like that, and it kind of makes you think like, oh, maybe they aren't all like out to get everyone. They're definitely not evil. It kind of brings that to your attention.
Yeah.
exactly.
I think that's why I'm kind of a fan of the Mandalorians, because at a certain point they were just like, no, thank you. To all of it. They're just like, no, just no. And as much as, like there's part of me that wants to be like, yeah, I'd be a rebel or I'd be part of the resistance. There is something about the, it's war. It's Star Wars. It's a war. There's gonna be unsavory stuff on both sides. And
Totally.
so, I think I probably am, if I was living in that world, I'm probably more of a pacifist. So I could see when the Mandalorians became more of a pacifist group, even though it probably seems even a little extreme, what Din with the Children of the Watch,
Right.
How they were very just much in service to others, the way that they approach things. I think that's a faction that's very interesting to me, because even though it's an extreme thing, it's kind of swinging the pendulum as far away from doing bad. Not that that's necessarily good, because extremes always have a problem, but that's very interesting to me. The way that they go about things. And the Mandalorians just are interesting because I feel like it's like the one group where we actually see a little bit more like culture in Star Wars. Like the art in the background of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
There's like the portrait of I think Sabine's mom that looks like a Gustav Klimt painting, and there's another portrait that's very obviously like they were totally like Cubism era art and architecture. Even the dark saber is very much based.
Yeah.
It's a very
oh, look at that dark saber.
There you go.
I like three of them.
The aesthetics and the pacifism, but also they can fight when they need to and have Beskar. Like it's kind of like the best of everything for me.
Personally, the Satine's Mandalorian group, I love the way things look there for the most part, but it's just like I'm of the opinion you shouldn't just ignore or shun part of your culture like that, which kind of led to the like her downfall in a way. Just if I don't like the way they exiled their warriors to the moons of Concordia, like I don't think that was the best situation, because you're not really fixing the problem, you're just putting it under a rug for a minute or two, which
or
like to revisit
putting it into a pressure cooker,
right,
which is more what happened. Element 7 says, I like the mural of the Mandalorian Jedi War in the Lawless, which is funny because he makes all the Jedi look really like caricature-esque, which is it's interesting though. And Luke's V2 Saber says the warrior culture is kind of BS, and that's one of the things I find that's interesting about Mandalorians specifically is they exhibit a lot of qualities of both the Jedi and the Sith at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's all the cooperation and the camaraderie and the brotherhood, but the might makes right thing all rolled into one. I think that's why they're a fascinating foil on both sides to them.
Which is like, I personally, like if I could have any story, it would be Tar Vizsla, because I want to see I want to see him trained. I want to see everything, because that has got to be one of the more interesting characters. Like, I really don't think people. I don't know if anyone really thinks about this, but he was a Jedi at a point, and at a point, Mandalorians hated them, and for him to become the leader of the planet and unite the clans, that says a lot. Like they had to respect him quite a bit.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing parts of his training because I would wonder if the Jedi would sort of forbid him to use that part of his culture. I mean, you're supposed to let it go of a lot of those attachments to your culture, to your parents, family, things like that. So I wonder, like, that must have been conflicting for him as a Mandalorian, where they use an awful lot of weapons, and you know those are very important to them.
No, totally. But in like old like in the expanded universe, like there were exceptions, like Kiadi Mundi. I'm not gonna say what he had, but there he was able
He
to
had.
keep. Yeah,
He was.
he was able to keep some things from his culture. Or that came out wrong when I think about it. Anyway,
Yeah, no, he was down to tame the Sarlacc. It's cool. It's cool.
yeah, but yeah, no. Like so, it would be interesting, and like I want to see how he got even inducted into the Jedi Order, because there's a story there, and it's just like how.
Absolutely. I mean, also I got a shout out my boy Element 7. He says cough cough echoes of the past. He has his fanfic that's like post Rise of Skywalker, but it does explore some of those stories, fully voice acted and all that stuff. It's good stuff. It's good stuff in there. I don't know. There's so many possibilities. That's what's interesting when we mix those, like, can kind of mix these factions together. But I'm curious, what are we missing? What type of group needs to be added or represented or play a bigger role in Star Wars? I mean, for me, the first place my brain goes, and for some people, this book is questionable. But we have there was a Legends book called The Courtship of Princess Leia. And in this book, for a political alliance, there's this group called the Hapes Consortium, and it's a matriarchal I can't say that word, I apologize. But it's interesting because they actually treat all the men like garbage. It's kind of funny. But they're trying to marry off the prince to Leia in the story, and it gets questionable because Han sort of kidnaps her to prove, his that they should be together. And then that's actually the introduction of the Dathomiri witches, is in that book, which is also another one of those societies. I think having just more groups with cultures that are so far different than what we typically see just throws a lot more, variables into the mix. We get some interesting stories.
I wouldn't mind seeing, not that we would need like a whole big thing on it, but I kind of want to see more of the Sith Eternal. I kind of want to see what led these people to decide to like basically be this cult that follows the Sith, and because they obviously had a huge impact, but we really don't know anything about them in Rise of Skywalker. I want to see like the progression. How did we get there with this group of people? What made them go, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to dedicate my life to. Like, who was recruiting them? How did they come together? How did they find each other? And because like they also like, Vader obviously turned at the end and, did what was right. And yet they still kind of upheld a lot of, who Vader is. So like, yeah, I'm just really curious as to like how did they promote themselves to increase their ranks to the point that they had built up what they had built to take care of Palpatine's little fragile feet. And I'm sorry. But yeah, like I just think that there's a lot to be explored there, which again is surprising that I'd have any interest because the Sith are never that interesting to me. But that part, we don't know anything. And then outside of, I just want regular people too. Like
That's true.
I want to
Yeah,
know
that's-
about the regular people that all of this, because we're seeing all of the people involved in these wars or trying not, all of these larger groups, but the regular people are the ones that are most affected.
Absolutely. That was something that I wanted to bring up too. I think that it's very important to show the side of the story of lay people. And I think that one of the things that I would really like to see in Star Wars, although this in it of itself isn't a faction, is more alien species. I mean, there are so many stories, both in canon and in legends, that surround these alien species who have very different culture, very different views on the war. And, the Sith Empire, they may not even have the same name for like the Force or something like that. They call it something different, like these species like the Killik or, the Yamri that were, ravaging the planet of Kali where General Grievous came from. I think it would be really awesome to have a story on those guys.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Wasn't kind of the point of the Martez sisters to be the normal person?
Yeah,
I think that was
I
their
thought that
point.
was valuable, and they definitely brought something to the table as far as that. I did like the fact that they were very ignorant in the beginning, and I didn't quite understand it at first, and I was kind of like, oh my god, they're doing the wrong thing over and over again. But then I realized that's how they can easily show growth in a character, is starting off with somebody who's completely ignorant. They weren't seeing all of the things that Ahsoka saw. They weren't in on, everything. So
yeah.
No, I agree.
Real quick, I got a shout out Camilla's podcast, The Beings of the Galaxy. It is about normal people just living their life in Star Wars. Y'all should check it out. It's everywhere.
So good.
You can find it. You might hear some familiar voices in there.
It's so good. It was in my Spotify top podcasts of the year.
Awesome. One thing to kind of go back, we actually have a little bit of an inkling about the Sith Eternal that I'm not going to spoil. And it's kind of a connection, but when you read the Alphabet Squadron trilogy of books, one of the topics that gets discussed is when Operation Cinder happened and the red Palpatine droids came out and ordered people to take place in Operation Cinder, which was an awful and atrocious thing. Everyone that got the message did it. And the question is, that's one of the questions they started to have is, how did they know who to ask in order? How do you know that who you're going to ask is going to be loyal enough in order to do this stuff? And that gets answered in here. And that's and as we find out, it's bits and pieces in multiple books. In the Aftermath trilogy, you kind of find out that that's the people that were found to be worthy of going to the Outer Rim to do something. So there's little bits and pieces out there. Hopefully we can get a full-on story. But like Skiva said, and I've said this many times, I do want a General Grievous. I want to spend time with those people. I want to see this warrior culture who's always trying to reach the pinnacle of their ability. And then, you fight a Jedi and you're like, I just can't compete. And it starts modifying more and more and more to become the greatest warrior. And by the time you look up, you're not even a species anymore. I think that could be a fascinating chasing the dragon type thing.
It would
He's
be
more machine now than man.
It would be interesting seeing how what his people thought of General Grievous, like how they felt about what he was doing and whatnot, if they were still around while he was doing what he was doing. But Operation Cinder is actually really jacked up because one of the planets is Now, one of the planets was Naboo.
Mhm.
He was totally getting ready to wipe out Naboo, but and ironically, Leia and the current Queen of Naboo actually stopped the what was getting ready to happen, and they actually go into the hangar where Maul fought Qui-Gon and
Qui-Gon.
Obi-Wan, and when Leia gets in there, she can still feel that cold, that darkness that Darth Maul just left in there, which is just so cool. But personally, it's a
Which
couple groups. What?
which I kind of feel may be the a retconned answer as to how she remembers her mother is
Mm,
echoes
Oh,
of the past.
yeah.
yeah, that would be pretty cool. But for me, there's a couple groups I would want to see more of. I want to see I want to see what happened. I want to see the Lost 20. I want to see
Oh,
yeah, I want to see what a Jedi Master does after they leave, because they're obviously honored by the Jedi Order, but what do you do? What do you just watch the galaxy turn out the way it does? Do you become a bounty
Right.
hunter? Do you become a politician? What? As I want to see them as well as way seekers, because do they just did the prequel era just stop letting people be way seekers, or like what? And because I find, like, if I was a Jedi, ironically with my name, I think I probably would want to be more of a way seeker and less of what the council and everything. Because I like, I really feel the Jedi should be out exploring the galaxy just a bit more than what they were in the prequels, and we totally get that in the High Republic. But it's just I feel they could always do more that way, as opposed to being held locked down into like one place, which is probably what led to their downfall. But
I just have to say thank you because you've
what
inspired my next book pitch.
what
I need a Lucasfilm. If you're watching this, here's what I need: 20 chapters. That's the last 20. Every chapter is one of them. Each story told from a different perspective. So maybe one of them is the Jedi going through this thing and realizing something's not for me. Maybe one of them is uh, a random person on a planet and a Jedi comes to save them, and then they fall in love, and that person leaves the order to stay with them. Maybe it's what I mean. Like
yes, yeah,
you
yes,
could
because
tell it from so many different perspectives.
we have like zero solid Jedi romances that don't end with one of them dying, like, at all.
Yep.
Like, none of them. But I also the uh
Oh, I was like, is that
I
me?
mean,
That's
What's happening? it's,
okay.
it's all good.
Also, one other group was the I don't know how to say the name, but it was like the people that followed the people that followed Padme, the Amidalans. I think that's
Oh
what they.
yeah, Amidalans.
Sorry,
Yeah.
The
yeah,
handmaids?
yeah, the handmaidens. And the thing
Oh,
is, it's not just the handmaidens; it's everybody that just knew Padme and like really respected her and whatnot. Like, I would love to see how they feel about everything, because I think they would know that the Jedi didn't like they should know something is up with it, like with the Jedi being wiped out the way they were.
Yeah. So read the Vader 2020 comic, the first arc.
Yeah, I
We get
know.
to meet the Amidalans. It's handmaidens. It's people that just really loved Padme. You may
Yes,
see Captain Typho pop up. But Padme influenced and impacted a lot of lives very deeply, and those people loved her so much. And when they found out that she died, they couldn't accept it. They knew something happened. They knew there was some sort of cover up, and they wanted to know what that was. And there's a whole story there. Read the first arc of Vader 2020 if you want to find
it
out
is
what
a
that is, and
it
if you
is
want
a
to be
great
sad.
arc.
Mhm.
Oh, especially seeing this from Vader's perspective, because it's just like each time, like this, it's a very depressing time for Darth Vader, and Palpatine is back on his BS. That's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. I mean, thank you guys so much for having this conversation. I know I did a little bit of a different style where I wanted us to be more free form and just kind of see and hang out with you guys and hang out with the chat. So I really appreciate it. As we kind of get towards the end here, I want to hear what about your guys' excitement level for the Book of Boba Fett, because that's coming up this month. Also here on the channel, I'm going to start covering all of the um, uh, Boba Fett like comics and stuff, just to show people some of the cool stuff that we've seen him do in both canon and Legends, and kind of get everyone prepared. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, excitement levels. What are you guys expecting? What do you guys want to see? And then also, if you can finish up by giving any final thoughts on the conversation, as well as letting us know where we can find you and your amazing content. Once again, I'll start this one with Amber. Also, everyone in the chat, let us know as well what's got you excited as well. But go ahead, Amber.
I am more excited for Book of Boba Fett than I thought I was going to be. Seeing what they did with him in Mandalorian actually made me interested in the character. I didn't really care about Boba Fett prior to Mandalorian, to be honest. But now I'm a lot more interested, especially the whole dynamic of him like kind of taking over in the Hutt's place, and of course Fennec. That's basically I'm there for Fennec, and then everything else. I have no expectations because I go into all Star Wars media with no expectations. I find that is always the best way. Because if you're not going, okay, I hope the story goes this way, or I hope the story gives me this, it's a lot easier to be happy with the content you get, even if it's not exactly what you wanted. You can find something to appreciate. So I'm going in with zero expectations, but I'm like probably a 7 out of 10 on like excitement for the show. So, and then closing thoughts, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, if you have just any other thoughts you wanted to mention.
Any other random Star Wars thoughts? If anybody knows if there is any additional media that goes with the Vader Immortal VR game, because I played that and I am so obsessed with making up a story in my head because I can't find, like, did they continue the story somewhere, or is there detail? Because obviously you're playing a video game, so there's only so much story, but it's such good story and it's canon. And Lord Corvax's lightsaber thing is like the coolest lightsaber in the world. That hilt, I am going to figure out how to use the 3D printer that I bought for my husband, because I'm going to make that hilt because it's so gorgeous. And like the Mustafarians, like I don't think about the fact that there are people that live on that planet when Vader's got his whole little castle there who have to deal with all his mess. So like there's so much in that story. If you have not played the game, don't have access to the game, like go on YouTube and watch the walkthrough of the game, because it is. And I generally don't really care that much about Vader, but I've played all 3 chapters, but I need to know, like, I need more story, because otherwise I'm just going to have to start writing it in my head. So,
there kind of is, but doesn't tie directly to Vader Immortal, but let's just say that's not his first attempt to bring back Padme. And there was a 2018 Vader series, which was really great. It shows how he got his castle, and it shows how Vader really became Darth Vader among the galaxy and whatnot. And we see him get his castle, and it's a big deal. Like, he specifically chose Mustafar for a reason to build his castle on. And we see how the people react to Vader coming to Mustafar. And it does not exactly end well for them. But
true.
Yeah,
but,
I want to know more
out.
about that storyline. Yeah. I don't know if they're ever going to do more with it, but it is it's a really interesting,
I think they could,
story, and like the Bright Star and like all of that stuff. It's It's really cool. And where you can find me on TikTok, Amber and Medina. My content is very random. Sometimes I talk about Star Wars, sometimes I talk about Broadway, and sometimes I just post fun videos of ducks because I have ducks. And so, like,
I like ducks. Yeah.
I do not have a niche. And on Twitter, Amber West, and that is also the name that I publish under.
Yes. You can also find her in the comment sections dunking on people. It's great.
I try to do it with kindness when I can.
Better than me.
And then for anyone that has not played Vader Immortal to the end, let's just say there's a reason that Mustafar looks a little bit nicer in Rogue One and a lot nicer in Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, mysteries abound. Jedi always.
Closing thoughts. I'd say when it comes to most sides of most conflicts in Star Wars, like we have an obvious big bad, but that big bad isn't always just the big bad. Like the Empire was a reactionary response to the catastrophic failure that was the Republic, and I understand why some people really fought for it. Like Moff Gideon's thing is like he really, like from what I understand, he really wants to restore order throughout the galaxy. And as evil as the Empire was, it did reestablish order for a lot of things and whatnot. Was it totally terrible? Yeah, but still, it fixed some of the bigger flaws of the Republic, I would say. But yeah, great conversation overall. What was it was closing thoughts and what else?
Excitement level for a Book of Boba Fett.
Right. Oh, right.
And then where we can find you other than at the top of the hashtag Palpafeet.
Why? Anyway, I'm gonna do my best act like that just doesn't exist. Anyway, I'm decently excited for Book of Boba Fett, but like he's not my favorite character by any means, but I want to see how he runs his empire, because I don't think a criminal like the underworld is necessarily a bad thing in Star Wars, because depending on who it's run by, it could be pretty good. Like, I mean, the Jedi worked with the Hutts. Sure, the Hutts are totally terrible, but still, there's something there, I would say, and I think Boba can make that a lot better because, like, Boba has learned lessons from almost every part of Star Wars when you really think about it. He's learned from the Jedi, he's learned from the Sith in a way, he's learned from the Empire, he's learned from the Republic, and Mandalore. I think he could really do, like, if anybody could have a good criminal empire, I think it's Fett, and I want to see that. And I want to see Fennec beat the crap out of a couple of people. So
that's a good point. I didn't really think about it that way, because he does have experience with Jedi and hunting them, and he's been used by the Sith, and he's a bounty hunter.
But not only hunting the Jedi, just with that conversation, or when Hondo talks some sense into him, and he's like, "It's what your father would have done, or it's what your father would have wanted." Like when he Hondo tells Boba to tell the Jedi where they're at and whatnot. I think there's definitely a bit of honor there, and I want to see that.
Yeah. Random note, Amber, that drinking thing you have is amazing. Disney's Robin Hood is one of my all-time favorite Disney films. I love it, so I appreciate it.
My first crush.
My Maid Marian, same. It's
excellent taste.
How about you, Lebo? Excitement for Book of Boba. Closing thoughts.
I'm super excited. If I remember correctly, there was really kind of no announcement for it. It was just the after credits of The Mandalorian, and it's kind of like, where were you when JFK was shot? I mean, not that I was around either, but I remember where I was when that was announced. It was we were talking about spoilers earlier, and it became a thing that I had to watch The Mandalorian at midnight because I'm like, I don't want to risk any spoilers. So I remember watching the final episode of The Mandalorian, and then, I started to go to bed, and someone said something about those after credit scenes. I'm like, oh, I totally missed an after credit scene in The Mandalorian. And so I put it back on, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I couldn't go back to sleep. In fact, I had a video conference call with my friends at 1 a.m. because I'm like, I don't know what to do in my life right now because we had Luke, and now we have a show. And it was Jabba's palace, and you had Bib Fortuna. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself right now. So I'm super excited for the show. What I'm really interested in seeing, obviously, and if we don't get it, I'd be really disappointed, but a flashback how he got out of the Sarlacc pit.
I think we're definitely getting.
If you don't do that, then what are we even doing? It's like that's got to be like in there. Because, I know that there were comic books and books that are now legends, but we really don't know. And just how it looked so acid washed when the Marshal had it, Cobb Vanth had it. So it's going to be really interesting to see. You know what? I'm interested to see Cobb Vanth. It'd be cool to see him interact with Boba now that Boba has the armor. I guarantee you Cobb Vanth's going to be in the show. At least, again, what are we doing if he's not? I'd be disappointed if we're not. I always loved Slave One. I remember in the episode of The Mandalorian when they did the seismic charge, I was watching it at midnight because I didn't want to do any spoilers. But when I saw the TIEs chasing Slave One and I saw Boba pushing switches, I'm like, no, they're not gonna. No. And then you saw the hatch open, and I'm like, I was screaming. I'm surprised no one in my house woke up, but I was just like, oh my God, they're doing the seismic charge. And I want to see more seismic charges. I really want to see more Slave One for sure. I'm definitely interested in the Fennec Boba relationship, friendship that they have. And just more Boba. Like I said, in the original series, I don't know how many minutes, but he had 6 lines total, I think, in the original series. And I think 10 minutes might be pushing it. So it's great to see him. And again, going back to The Mandalorian, like when he even used when you saw him just destroying everyone, all the Empire, you had the knee darts. We never saw those in use. He had the blaster here. He was just shooting everyone. He used the current modern day charges. It was just so fun. I even made a TikTok about it where I think someone says they're going to bring the cavalry, and then the next line someone says, "I am the cavalry," and I just timed it with the Mandalorian with Boba Fett just beating everyone up. It was just so good. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get. I don't know if it's just a 1-season deal or it's just going to be, I don't know what we're getting. Obviously, I'm more excited to see Obi-Wan, but we could talk about that.
We will be talking about
for sure. As far as and also I want to say it's such a pleasure being here with the 4 of you. I just feel like I'm in a room with such knowledgeable Star Wars people, and I'm just like, I thought the movies were pretty. Like, you guys are so amazingly knowledgeable. I'm just really happy to be invited to the table. So, guys, awesome hanging out with you. I follow you all now, so yeah, I hope to hang out with you guys again. Especially if anyone's going to Celebration. I don't know who's going to Celebration, but definitely want to
I'll be there for
hang out with you guys there. As far as where to find me, I have my name here. For TikTok, it's Lebo1 Kenobi, all one word. And on Instagram, it's Lebo1 Kenobi with underscores between them. And I do mostly Star Wars or nerdy content, Marvel. Sometimes I'll do a TikTok trend just to be fashionable. But yeah, come hang out.
Awesome. Always appreciate you, buddy. And real quick, we have Brooke in the chat just saying Boba. I think she might explode once the show comes out. I'm looking forward to having her on for more coverage. Go ahead.
I didn't say where everybody can find me. You can just find me on TikTok and Instagram under the name Jedi Always. I do Star Wars content primarily, slowly branching out to some of my other hobbies, although I can only deal with so much toxicity at once.
Ain't that the truth? I got Johnsky in the chat says it'd be cool to see Cad fight Bobo while he's just a kid. And like have it echo with like in the past and in the present. That would be cool. Element 7's calling out Brooke just in time for Boba Simp. Mara J. Skywalker, fingers crossed for Django lore and true Mandalorians. And I do want to see him get out of the Sarlacc. Do not make him fall back into the Sarlacc. That's so
Please
stupid. And do not make him have a telepathic link where he talks to the Sarlacc, because that was
Yeah.
weird.
What?
Yeah, that was the thing that happened in Legends. That's the second time he got out.
I'd love
Anyways.
to see Dengar come back.
Oh, Dengar.
Diaperhead Dengar. Awesome. And General Skivas, last but certainly not least, final thoughts, Boba excitement, and where we can find you.
The excitement in this room is astronomical. I am obsessed with Boba Fett. He's been my favorite character since I was a kid. I feel so fortunate that I get to have a whole TV show about my favorite Star Wars character. So I'm just beyond happy, and I have very high hopes for the series. I believe I've heard rumors that it's supposed to be 7 episodes long, and I expect them all to be amazing. I want to see more Fennec Shand fighting. I mean, I feel like her fight scenes in the Bad Batch were way more intense than the ones in the Mandalorian. So I'd love to see some of that incorporated into the Boba
Agents
Fett
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
series
too.
as well.
Yeah, she's great.
Would be so cool. And of course, I'm hoping for some familiar faces. I know some people aren't a huge fan of like nostalgia baiting and stuff like that, but I would love to see Cad Bane, Dengar, Bosk maybe. I don't know who could, some of his bounty hunter buddies, and I'm very excited to see what he'll do with his newfound Hutt empire. And I'm super stoked about it.
Awesome. I love it. And any final thoughts and where we can find you and your awesome content? I've been following Skivas for a very long time. Y'all need to. But yeah, where can we find you, and any final thoughts?
So you can find me on TikTok. I'm primarily on TikTok. I am trying to post on Instagram more, and I kind of have a YouTube channel in the works. I'm not sure how long it'll take for me to do that, but yeah, I would like to focus more on content creation on YouTube eventually, so I can have longer videos. But final thoughts. I'm very happy to have talked to you guys today. I was happy to chat Star Wars with all of you, and I will be promptly following all of you after. And thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you everyone that's hanging out here in the chat. We got Daniel Stewart, X-Core Gamer Skills, the other half of the Conspiracy Cantina. We got Brooke, B Dazzler. If you want awesome Star Wars stuff, she has an Etsy store called Far Far Away Factory. Amazing stuff there. We got Johnsky in the chat, Element 7, Mara J. Skywalker. I don't know if Camilla's still here, Julia Christine, and Dadalorian stopped by. Man, just stacked. Cat Lady was here. Don't know if she still is. Awesome. I love this community, and we're going to have all of you guys back on. And X-Core just says, gentle reminder that Conspiracy Cantina is moving to Fridays. So what I said about Tuesdays is wrong. So they're moving to every other Friday. So that is awesome, guys. Thank you so much. And sorry, one last shout out. I know I said this at the beginning, but for anyone that's listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or just any of the audio only, I want to say thank you guys so much, because I upload it, and it wasn't until I've been seeing people talk about it being like a really, like, they actually listen to a lot of the episodes, and I super appreciate it. I want to say thank you to those people, and I'll make sure to take better care of you and give you guys more prompt uploads. So I apologize. I get behind. That being said, everyone have a great night, and may the Force be with you